Hello Flosstube friends, welcome back to another cross stitch update. My name is Joanne, the Story Stitcher, and it's been about 3 weeks since my last video and I have missed you all. I've been so eager and excited to sit down, film an update, chat cross stitch and all of the good things. And so I'm so glad that you're with me today. It's a drizzly afternoon here in California and I have been doing a little bit of stitching that I'm excited to share with you, and I look forward to hearing what you've been up to as well. I try to post videos every 2 weeks, but this one took a little bit longer because I am on book deadline, which I'll tell you about in a little while. But first, I just wanted to say hello. And it has been on my mind, just all of my stitchy friends, all of the Flosstubers out there, and all of the wonderful things to be had in the world of cross stitch. And because the schedule has not allowed for me to sit down and film, it's been a little bit heartbreaking. So being here today is gonna probably be, no doubt, the highlight of my day. And what do you say we dive into some cross stitch? I have for you a couple of small things to show you, and I'm getting distracted by my setup. Do you see this stack of books? That's not supposed to be there. I meant to move that, but I have an interview coming up where I'm going to talk books. So that's why they're sitting there, the tower there, and actually right there is a manuscript. So that's the story part of the Story Stitcher, which I'm excited to talk more about. And as it's February, the last time you saw me, I shared a couple of whips, I shared a couple of projects. One of those whips was my calendar stitch. How about we start with that one? This is the bag that I have that my husband got me at the little craft fair. Isn't it so cute? I love this one. And anybody else get string stuck in the zipper? I do. This is the one that you all gave me so much encouragement with. This is the calendar. And last time we chatted, I was telling you a little bit about January and feeling less than motivated because of the Christmassy colors. And the comments that I got were absolutely amazing. You all shared so many good insights, so many great ideas of how to persevere, how to push through. And you all just cheered me on that said, you can get it done, you can do it. And I did. Now, here is the original, and I will show you my January. There he is. It's finished. I made a few slight tweaks, particularly to the tree. I didn't add the red or the gold because I think a lot of us were in agreement that it felt a little Christmassy. So I just did brown for little brown pine cones, and I made his hat and scarf blue. He feels more wintry. If I was gonna do this over, I would make January blue as well, but I had already stitched it. So we're gonna leave that as is. I also wish that I had made the windows a little bit darker, but I don't think I'm gonna change them right now. So it works for me. This is gonna be a series of smalls that I will turn into flat finishes or little pillow finishes and create a bowl or some kind of container where I can kind of make a like stitchy calendar, and I can sort of rotate them. So for the 30 days out of the year that January will be at the front of that bowl, I think it's looking just great. I'm so pleased with it. There's a little bit of something on the fabric here. I'm not sure what that is, or if it's a little problem with the cloth, but I'll probably give it a little bit of a wash. So that's January. DMC, 14 count Ada. And you saw in the last video, I learned a couple of lessons to not cut my fabric maybe quite so small during the stitching unless I really am excited to stitch in hand, because it's more or less what I needed to do. But you can see by the hoop marks that I have a tiny hoop. Look at this guy, tiny hoop that I can use for tiny things. I think this is just a little finishing hoop. So I used that. And it went great. And guess what? I actually have February's as well. So that is something that I'm really eager to show you, is February is also done. I was excited to get to these pinks and reds, and you'll see that I made a few little tweaks because I just feel like these little guys kind of have room for that. They have space for that to kind of change it up and make it my own. Now on this one, I did it on white fabric. There it is. You can see I just used this pre-gridded fabric, which is different than this one, and of course different than the called for. But what I decided is, since I don't have a ton of this color and I don't want to have to try to match it all for 12 pieces, I thought it'd actually be kind of fun to let the pillows be slightly different, which would make the bowl feel a little more vibrant than having 12 pillows that are all this color. So I'm going to work in some whites and possibly even some different shades. And since February didn't have a lot of white appearing on the outskirts of things, I didn't have to worry too much about things fading or blending in. So here is my February piece. I think it turned out really cute. That door, I did stitch all the doors. I did stitch the door and the little white bits. It doesn't show up as well, but that is indeed stitched. And this one went a lot faster. Maybe because it was pre-gridded, maybe because I kind of psychologically was more prepared. You'd think these were difficult. They're not. Would you like to see the changes that I made? When you look at this, do you see these little half moons? Let's take it out of the plastic. There's these little half moons that I kind of thought maybe looked sort of like horns, like a cow or something. I couldn't quite wrap my mind around them. So I just left those off and I stitched the flowers. They're floating. I didn't do the little moons, and I like that. The other change that I made is that these hearts have one side that's flat and then one side that's curved, if you can see that. And I just decided to make my hearts fully heart-shaped. So I matched that heart up there. Those are the changes that I made. I'm happy with those changes. I fiddled around a little bit with the pinks and reds, but I'm excited. Together, I think they're gonna look charming once I wash out the lines and have these in a bowl. My little calendar dough bowl is the idea. So January and February done. Today is February 18th, so I'm on track. And a little story time. I spent last week with my mom. She was under the weather, so I stayed with her and hung out with her, and we had some time together. And so since this was the only thing that I brought, it allowed me to finish February, and I went ahead and got a jump on March. I just thought, why not? Since I finished this, I'll show you what I have. I just started the letters of March. Again, it's another color, which I kind of want it to be a little bit intentionally mismatched on purpose. I think it'll look a little more folky that way. And that's what March is gonna look like. So because the house is white, I definitely decided to do it on a more taupey fabric. That way that house could really pop, because I definitely didn't want to change the house. And look at that cardinal and the little kitty cats. I'm excited to do March. And now there's a pep in my step. There's wind in my sails. All thanks to you all out here on Flosstube who encouraged me that I could absolutely do this project. So a little progress made and a little bit ahead of schedule, which feels really good. So I've got some wiggle room and I keep everything in here. I am trying to keep the same colors throughout the piece, even though I'm sort of doing my own color conversions. I'm trying to keep them as consistent as possible. So I think it'll look nice in the bowl. I don't think you can see it, but I mentioned last time these little wooden drawers here. Let's see here. That my dad, I'm trying not to knock these off. Those little wooden drawers that are sewing machine drawers. I might use those. We'll see how it all fits. We'll see how it all fits in the long run. So that is project number 1. And sitting here, I actually have my Stitchy cart. I posted a picture of this on my Patreon, asking for tips and advice on storing cross stitch, because that's something else that I've been doing this month, is assessing the clutter. Now, when I'm on a book deadline, it is very time consuming. So typically for books, we're usually given about a year to write them. I've been given over a year to write this one because of everything that happened in 2025. My publisher's like, take all the time you need, which has been amazing. And as part of that, I have my book due in 9 days. And it is the sequel to the first one that I did that I mentioned previously. which is my Jane Austen series. And so I've been working away on that, which has been very lovely and fun. And I also work full time. I'm back at work and time just got tight. I know I don't have to describe that any more than that, and you all will understand what it's like to have a full schedule. So it's been lovely. It's been fun. I've gotten to do a lot of writing, lots of sitting at Panera or tucking away with my laptop, just hanging out with my characters and writing away. So having a project like this that was small and simple and sweet was really wonderful. I feel as though there were a few times that I was at risk of being extra hard on myself. I don't know if you all have that experience where I thought to myself, Joanne, you're not getting the stitching done that you need to be getting done. And kind of having to silence that a little bit to try to stay consistent, to try and, of course, enjoy my stitchy time because it is for fun first and foremost, right? It's for a way of relaxing and connecting and creating and all of those good things. But sometimes it can kind of slip into this angle of we might feel hard on ourselves or we might feel disappointed in ourselves as though we're not accomplishing enough. And I'm really trying to like nip those thoughts in the bud and give myself lots of grace. I am not a professional cross stitcher. Nothing is going to fall apart if I take a couple extra days. So a little project like this was really comforting. And as I was working away on the book, I've dropped a few little teasers on Instagram and different places, and as the months roll by, I'm going to get to drop more teasers, which I'm really excited about. The fun teaser that I have for you today is, this is the sequel, this is the second book. It's going to have different characters in the Heart of Bennett Hollow. There's going to be new characters, a new setting, but it remains a mystery a little bit longer. So this is my first little teaser that I can't wait to tell you what this one is going to be about, and to get to celebrate stories and characters with all of my book-loving friends. So as we carry on, let's dig further into the Stitchy cart. I have another cross-stitch project to show you, but this is staring at me, so I have to show it to you. This is a frame that I got at a yard sale that my dad fixed up for me. Isn't that adorable? It's got such a kind of quirky, vintagey vibe to it. So he glued these because they were all broken. And so I gave it to Dad and he glued the edges and fixed them, which I think would be a really cute frame to sit here or hang on the wall. That's in my Stitchy cart, which I posted a picture of that in my Patreon. And I thought about posting just a proof of life photo here on YouTube, but by the time that I realized I should probably post a proof of life photo, I thought, let's just film a Flosstube. That'd be even more fun. And I'm already having fun. I'm already loving this. Okay, the next project that I worked on was a little bit of stitching. Just a little bit of stitching. And again, because I was at Mom's for the week and that was what I had brought, when I got home, I ran through a checklist of the things that I could work on. And there were a few that were calling to me very loudly that I really feel like I want to get to and finish. But I just grabbed what looked like it would be the most fun. And when life is busy, I think there's something to it. I really think there's something to that. So I grabbed Voice of the Shepherd. Lovely little Told in the Garden piece. And this is a stitch that I do as I think about my dad and the wonderful relationship that I have with my dad, because it just reminds me of him. He and Mom taught me Psalm 23 when I was little, and just when I see things like this, it just reminds me of Mom and Dad. So that's what I'm stitching it for, hopefully for Dad. And you can see the little progress that I made. I will show you the whole thing, but this is the edge there. And I actually just went off and I worked on these little green, couple of different shades in there. I worked on some of the trees in that far corner. I am almost to the edge of the piece. Let's show you the whole thing. Let's take this off. I'm almost to the edge of the piece where I'll get to work on that cute little, let's take off one more. There we go. Where I'll get to work on that cute little vine on the side. But that's what we have so far. Do I have a board? I do, but it's out of reach. Let's use a project bag. There we go. This is on a piece of even weave, 32 count, and I'm pretty sure it's a Lugana in the color of mushroom. If that's wrong, I'll let you know, but I think that's the color. Such a pretty piece. I'm absolutely loving it. And I'm right there. It definitely looks different in the photo, doesn't it? But you can see how rich and gorgeous the colors are in real life for Voice of the Shepherd. So once I get to the edge, really, I think I'm about there. I'm going to be doing a little bit of fill in here of that bottom bush. And then there's some little flowers that are going to come into play. But once I finish that edge, I think I'm just going to maybe leave it in the Q-snap and go ahead and do the trees that shape that beautiful heart. So Voice of the Shepherd by Told in a Garden, and that lives in my little project bag. As you can see, that's not a ton of stitching. It's not a massive amount of progress, but I think that the ways that I have made progress this month have been circling back to the joy of stitching, circling back to sitting with people that we love. I got to sit with Mom. I get to cross stitch. We watched movies. We watched TV shows. I got to go for walks with Dad. I got to go to lunch with Dad. I got to take my niece, she's 16, she and I got to go volunteer at our local theater. We like to volunteer as seaters and greeters at a nearby theater, and it was Beauty and the Beast. And so she and I got all dressed up, and we got to go seat people for Beauty and the Beast, which means I get a little name badge that has my name on it, and it says volunteer. It's like gold, and it says joy, and I get a flashlight. And when people enter the theater, we say, hello, may I help you find your seats? And we get to take our flashlights and we lead them up the steps to their row, and we tell them to enjoy the show. And then we love it. So we do that. It's a lot of fun. It gets a little wild and crazy and hectic, which is honestly half the fun, because as it gets closer to showtime, more and more guests are coming in. And one of our jobs is, if they have a wheelchair or a walker, we label it. And so it might be, your F17, and we label it, and then we have a special room where we stash those. And then I'll tell the guest that, would you like me to bring it back to you for intermission? And they'll say yes, or they'll say no. And then we park the wheelchairs and walkers, and then the theater fills, the music swells. And then once, my special job is that I get to close the curtains. So I got to close the curtains, and I feel very official and very special because you have 2 curtain closers, obviously one on each side of the theater. And they're these big velvet curtains with these big ropes. And so when I get to close the curtains, I just feel so special. And then we traipse upstairs, and in the very top row of the whole theater is where the volunteers get to sit, and we get to watch the show for free. And at intermission, we serve concessions. So my niece and I helped serve the concessions. We had a couple people on the concessions. Someone takes money. My niece and I were dishing out the cookies. They make homemade cookies at this theater, so the lobby smells like fresh baked cookies. And we have our little gloves on. We dish out cookies. We tell people. We just get to greet people. And so for my niece and I, it's a wonderful experience for her. It's sort of work experience, life experience. She loves the theater. She's a great little actress. And it's just something that we get to do together. I do it with my daughter as well. So that's just my little side stories, some of the things that I've been up to. And it reminded me of Flosstube because I wanted to share this story with you all, in the sense that when we get to volunteer, when we get to share a piece of our lives with other people that we might not normally encounter, that are perhaps outside of our circles, or we're outside of our ordinary lives, it's very life-giving. It's very magical to, leave home, dress up, get my flashlight, do all the things, meet and greet people. I always have an encounter that I appreciate, whether I get to help make somebody's day, or I've helped people like physically sit before I get booster chairs for kids. You know, it sounds very simple, but taking the time to volunteer, taking the time to do that in our communities is something that I thought I'd bring to the conversation today, because it truly brought me joy. And as I'm focusing on work, I'm focusing on book deadlines, having something that's entirely different just kind of refreshed me. It sounds weird when you think volunteering would maybe be draining, and actually it wasn't. So maybe that's like a question of the day, is if there's anything that you like to do to volunteer, whether it's at church or at a school. I know some people might be crossing guards, or there's so many different things that people do. I'd love to hear what your favorite volunteer thing is to do or has been. Another thing that comes to mind, and this ties directly to Stitchers, is I know sometimes people can knit blankets or crochet hats. And I mentioned this previously, but when I was at the hospital and I was on the chemo ward, there was a basket on the counter there of beanies that you could take. And I did take one, and I still have it. And I'll always keep it because a lady or a person that I don't know made that, who didn't know me, and it kept my head warm and it gave me a little head covering. And there is a picture, I actually have a picture of that one on my Instagram. It would be from some months ago. I can't even remember what the cover photo is. It might be a bouquet of flowers. I'm not sure. But in that Instagram post, there's a picture of my husband and I standing there in the radiation department, and I'm wearing that red beanie. So I thought that's also another thing that we can do as Stitchers, is make things with our hands for people who need them. I don't think anybody would want to wear a beanie that I crocheted, because my crochet skills aren't the best. I actually have my basket sitting here. Look at the size of this basket. Isn't it fabulous? I love this basket. And I just keep my yarn in here, and I keep my, are there any granny squares in there? No. This is all the yarn that Mom gave me. She gave me 2 big bags of it. It's just pretty basic yarn. And this is where I practice making my granny squares. I guess I'm just showing you this in the spirit of volunteering, since that's going to maybe be the theme of this video. And maybe I'll get better at making granny squares. Maybe I'll make hats or blankets for people someday. If you have that gift, if you have that skill, I would love to hear. So those are the things that have filled this month. Time with family, time with my parents, working on the book, volunteering, and other good things. The last thing that I did, stitching related, is I have been doing some organizing. Again, I posted this on my Patreon because it's kind of embarrassing to talk about my messes. I am not a naturally organized person. And so this space that surrounds me has different baskets, different drawers, little cubbies and things. And I'm really trying to simplify and condense in my stitchy space. Here I have a little cart. It has the 3 tiers, and I've done things like I'm working on getting some things just put away, because why not? This is empty. I need to put some good stuff in it. And I have little scissors. My sewing kit is now in this cart. Maybe at some point I'll give you a better view of it. I'm like thinking, can I pick it up? Not really. That will probably go south very fast. But yeah, that's what I've been working on, is organizing, tidying, making space, and just enjoying life. And that's one of the reasons why I thought, can I really film a floss tube with just a couple of projects done and just a few things completed? And then I just decided, yes, I can film a floss tube because I want to say hi to my floss tube friends. So some stitching has been done, and more stitching is to come. Once I turn that book in, it's going to feel like such a victory, and my editor is going to get to read it and edit it. And while she reads it, while she edits it, I have all kinds of things I'm working on with cross stitch and organizing. Those are sort of the things that I'm most excited to do. But that's pretty much what I've got, and I'm really, really happy with that. Now, I will see some of you at Stitch West. I don't know how many of you are coming to Stitch West in April. If you're going to Stitch West in April, I'd love to hear. Mom and I are going to be there, and we have some Stitchy friends. We're going to meet for the first time, and it's going to be my very first stitching retreat. I will take any advice you have, any insights you have, any tips on packing. If you've been to StitchCon or Stitch West, or maybe your smaller Stitchy groups, do you pack multiple projects? I'm thinking I'll probably pack maybe about 3 projects of varying degrees of difficulty / interest. I hear that when you're stitching in a group that some people will say they don't get a lot of stitching done. So I'm wondering how much stitching do you get done? How much stitching can I expect to get done? And any tips on what to pack? I think I might do maybe some projects that are kind of mindless. I don't know that I would consider this mindless or anything like that, but should I do projects that are really easy, a little more straightforward? I'm thinking I might bring my full coverage. I definitely want to be working on this one. I have a couple others that I'm eager to work on. I have a few that I'm not even going to name that are so close to a finish, I can taste it. So those are on my radar. Those are on the top of my whip pile. And I'm excited to get to those and get some finishes on a few things. But I also know that sometimes people will bring something to a writer's retreat that they can intentionally finish, so that way they can ring the bell or go up and, show it to the group that they got it done. So I'm thinking about that as well. And yeah, making plans for Stitch West in April. It's in Utah. So since we're in California, Mom and I are going to drive. And I'm also thinking ahead to gifts, table gifts. Let me know. I know I'm asking you all a lot of questions, but let me know if you have tips or ideas on table gifts of smalls that I could make. I've thought about, I have a shelf of books. That I'm looking at, and I'm wondering if I could just bring books. Could I wrap them in ribbon and maybe make some bookmarks or something? Would that be weird? I'm not sure. And what else would make a good table gift? I know people can do scissor fobs, floss drops. I've thought about maybe making some homemade floss drops, maybe like bookish floss drops. That might be a nice table gift. Maybe bookish floss drops and a book. I don't know. So I'm thinking that through. I don't know how many people sit at the tables at Stitch West. I feel like sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 10. I'll take all the advice that you all have that you can share with me. And so that's something else I'm thinking ahead and looking forward to, because probably the next time that I see you all, it's going to be March. And by then I'll have a month to go for table gifts. So that'll be coming in the future. I'll share some of that, what I'm working on. I'll try and, of course, kind of keep it a secret so I don't ruin the surprise for my table guests. But someone that I'm in particular looking forward to meeting is someone that you probably know. She's a Flosstuber who is as new as I am, meaning just over a year, and it is Jill from Count on Linens. She and I are going to connect while we're there. She is based in Utah. So I am very excited to meet Jill. She's a lovely woman. If you haven't watched her Flosstube, you will love it. She's just so sweet and kind and encouraging, and her sister's on with her sometimes, and she hand dyes linens, as I'm sure you know or have seen. So that's probably, apart from seeing Mom or spending that time with Mom, I'm very excited to meet Jill. And she and I started Flosstube I want to say it was the same week. So my Flosstube number 1, I am wearing like a little, I think like it was like an orange rust colored little jumper dress. And then lo and behold, we both appeared on Flosstube at the same time, and she was wearing a little orange jumper dress. And so we got to say, welcome to Flosstube at the same time, and just see each other's videos at the same time. And so we had a nice little connection over being jumper dress sisters when we recorded our first Flosstubes. So that also has a soft spot in my heart, is getting to meet Jill. And yeah, I just can't wait to read the comments, see what you all have to say, and I will see you all soon. Thanks for being here with this little impromptu Flosstube. I know not a whole lot fancy or fine happening in this one, but it really did my heart good to connect with you, sort of see you, for lack of a better term. See you all. I can't wait to read your comments. And I just wanted to give you all a proof of life that I'm here and that I'm doing well. I have a pet scan tomorrow, which is another reason why I wanted to film this, is because there's more on the schedule and I didn't want any time to go by without filming this. So you will probably see this ideally going up tomorrow, since I often try to post on a Thursday. And if and when you see this, just know I might be in a pet scan machine getting a pet scan to make sure that everything is going clear and that everything is staying clear. So prayers to that would be appreciated. And with that, I will see you soon. Goodbye, my stitchy friends. Until the next video or the next poster update, I'm Joanne, the Story Stitcher, and I wish you well. I wish you lots of lovely stitching, and I will see you soon.